Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos, and today we have got an update on the 1 in 700 scale Trumpeter USS Lexington CV2. All the paint's done. I've got to go around and paint some bits in, like I've left some doors, hatches, are they doors? Hatches? I can't remember, but dogged open, I think they call it dog locked or whatever. But I've done a few just for interest with them open, and I'm going to just paint them black, you know, the metal. Anyway, paint them black so it looks like they're open. Completely forgot to do that. It doesn't really matter because I'd have had to unmask them some way, so that's not a problem. Got to do that and some other bits and pieces, but basically weathering from now on. Once that's complete, I've got to try and get a perspex box for her, to put her in. She's going on a blue foam base will be made, and make a little seascape for her to be sailing in. I'm not making obviously some dio or anything like that. It really is just to put context for the ship. I do prefer to see the ships, the 1 in 700s anyway, because they're small enough to do it in a water context rather than on the little stands. That's just how I like to see them. And once the sea base is done and painted up and she's sat in there, I'm painting up the aircraft at the moment. They've got to have a wash over them, but I'll show those in a second. I've not gone for a lot of aircraft on the deck, to be honest with you, and I don't want to do the rigging. I'm looking over there because she's waiting to come onto the camera. I don't want to do the rigging, obviously. That'll be done at the last stage, because I'm just going to be pinging rigging lines off. I'll be using that easy line, and I just know I'll be pinging it off all over the shop. And because I'd like to fly a few signalling flags, maybe. Not made up ones though. I want them, you know, to be. I'll have to look at old photographs and see what they're flying and what the colours are and all that type of stuff. Looking over there, stop looking there and look at the camera, Gav. So yeah, it's basically a weathering process over the next few days, a sea base then, and that will be included. I'll have to buy this perspex box of some description, which would be better than the old cardboard box that's stuck over the top of it to try and keep some of the dust off her. I need to buy some crew. That's the next one, is get some crew. I've said to her, now, no disrespect to the Lexington's crew. I just wanted to also do it as a bit of fun and to shout out some of my Maras on YouTube. I mean, obviously the crew will be going about doing their thing on the ship, but not each one maybe, I don't know, because I don't know how many crew I'm going to be sticking on it yet, but they will be my YouTube Maras, and we'll have a bit of fun shouting out each one. But again, I mean, no disrespect to the crew of the CV2 Lexington. Yeah, so the crew, I suppose the aircraft would go on after that, wouldn't they, before the crew, because we need to put them on to know where the crew are going to be going around and stuff. Then it'll be the crew, and then the last thing will be the rigging. So now she's got a paint on. I mean, don't get me wrong, up close it looks grainy, because it is grainy. It doesn't help that I'm not very good yet with an airbrush. Two, you can't polish ships, and I don't mean polish them like you would a car, but you can't buff them slightly just with the paint. Yeah, I had a disaster with the metal primer as well, which hasn't helped. I'll go and fish that out now, because I just need to ask. See, the problem is you ask questions and most people skip the videos. I don't blame you, but you ask a question and people never even hear it. Colorado, Jeff did though. Jeff, you gave a good thing of just practice on something else first. You gave a really great piece of advice. Gav completely forgot it and just went ahead and sprayed this stuff on with the resulting consequences. But yeah, I'll show the stuff in a minute and ask a question again, just in case people can then tell me where I went wrong, if there was a reason why it went like it did. So yeah, we're getting there. She's looking brilliant. I love her. Yeah, well, let's go down to the bench, take a look, and we can go into the things that I've done wrong and things I'm having to alter slightly in bits and pieces. Right, guys. Sorry that she's just been literally plonked on the bench the way she is, without any real thought to displaying her for a video. But I've literally got a few minutes to a quiet house, and I just wanted to go through these bits, this video I should say, before my wife and Archie come back. So as you can see, she's in her blue, the dark blue deck. I left the black showing through in places, and put the that's right. Sorry about that. That was my wife just saying she was at the vets with Archie. He's 12 years old, and I always get a bit worried about him going to the vets. It messes my head up, so I don't go if I can help it. Right, sorry, I'll just bits fly. It's just this time of year with the windows open, bits fly all over the place. Yeah, so I'd obviously put the black base coat down, primer, and I've gone patchy with the deck, because it would seem that obviously they painted this. It's a wooden deck, and they've, at this time in her career, they painted her blue to obviously as some form of camouflage, and it would be lighter in places. Now, I don't know if you can see the light little bits, which actually, to be honest with you, they just look like bits that have been repainted, but that's where the masking tape pulled up tiny bits of the deck. In fact, is that a tiny bit of the deck? That's, oh yeah, well done, Gav. We've got a tiny bit of the deck there that for some reason I've either missed or the paint hasn't stuck down to. I don't know. We'll sort that out. But what I'm now going to do with the oils or with a filter is just try and blend it all in. I'm not that fussed if those patches stay patchy, because they just look like worked on pieces of deck. Now, I've noticed on the larger CV2 that Trumpeter do, when I've seen build pictures of it, people have put the yellow deck markings down. And I don't remember her having deck markings at this time in her career, and they certainly don't give you any decals for it. And I really don't think my masking skills would be good enough to do two thin stripes. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'll be peed off with myself if I've missed putting yellow stripes down. And so I'm really hoping that they're not there, because that'll be a shame, because you've even got to put them on that, obviously the bits of deck that are down on the lift at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to have a couple of 3 crewmen coming up on the lift here, got safety barriers around it, and I'm going to have a wildcat coming up on this one. All the aircraft will be posed to the rear of the deck. We've got, again, I put these, as I said to you guys, I put these safety railings up. I don't know if she'd be cruising in wartime, if they'd have them up or not, or if they were just for when they're in harbour. They said put them on, and I just thought it would add some interest, so I did. But again, I really don't know. I think these things here are water mains or fire hydrants in case of deck fires. I believe that might be what they are. Not that you needed to know that really, I'm just looking at them. What else? Oh yeah, so let's hold it up, Gav, let's zoom her in a bit. So things like this door here, I'll just put a dab of black painting, and just so it's been opened. As you can see close up, it's quite speckly, because you've got what I did was put the photographs showed it. I mean, they give you the Trumpeter artwork, but that's well, not artwork, but the colour guides or whatever, and they're notoriously not realistic in a lot of their models. And but from what I'd seen, it did show. I mean, I've got black and white photographs in a book, and it showed the grey with the blue in stages. Some people go darker, some people go lighter. I'm happy with this. There will be some colour changes, going to put those filters on and just darken and lighten the ship in places. So that this isn't going to be the finished colour completely. We've got obviously I've used tire rubber black for the top. Obviously that's the smokestacks, and I believe they painted them black anyway. I might be wrong, but I believe they did. Or it could just be the complete sooting over. But yeah, as I say, painting wise, I'm not very good. What I didn't want to do was lose the grey tones coming through. I think if I'd have gone a slightly darker blue, it wouldn't have been so speckly. But I couldn't risk the greyer paint not being on show. It's not very evident under these lights, I know, but it is there, and when you stand back from it, you can see it quite well. Because obviously the hole where it got more of a bashing from the waves and stuff, that was more, the hole was more the grey pack, the original grey. I'll just call it battleship grey, but you know, that was showing through, whereas the smokestack and the bridge areas and stuff that obviously weren't so exposed, they were more blue. I haven't done the boats yet. We've got both. They're going to go on hopefully this weekend. They have been painted and that, they just need to get put in, and I'll have to probably paint up a railing. As I say, I'm not very good. There's loads. It really does show the glue that I've used. As I say, I'm learning. And I'm also going to put some in the weathering process, do some pin wash, you know, around different places as well. Just because of the scale, it needs to jump out more. I did put a bit of the soot colour, as I call it, on the back of the radar as well, because I would have thought that would have got sooty. So that's that. Now I used the Mr. Colour Metal Primer and I put it through an airbrush. I mean, I do wish they put an English stuff on as well if they're going to sell it to countries, because apart from they've had to, obviously at the warehouse in the UK, they've had to put a safety sticker on to comply. There's no actual, obviously it's all in Japanese, and yes, I know I could put one of them translator things on and that, but I'm just saying, I gather I could spray it through an airbrush. I did, and what happened was, it could have been the heat, because we've had a heat wave over here. It came out like candy floss, and I'm trying to find it, if it's this side. Yeah, it is. You can just see on the railings there. I did try and get it out, but it was a lost cause in the end, which was a shame. You don't see it stood back, but it's there. Yeah, it came out like spider webs all over the bits I was spraying. I managed to get the majority off, but around the railings, it was a real difficulty. So if you do know why it came out like candy floss, could you let me know? Because I haven't got a clue. And I mean, I've only ever brush painted it on before, but because I had so much brass all over the place, I thought it'd be a lot better to spray it. I thought, well, you know, it's not going to, surely it can't hurt the paint that's now then going to go on top of it. It's primer at the end of the day, it's just like see-through. But yeah, I've no idea, it just came out like candy floss. Right, back in a second. Right, just put the, just for looks, I've put some of the air wing on, or air group, what do they call it? I'm not 100% sure. I do know all this stuff, but I can never get it out of my head to speak it on a video. Was that even English? Anyway, so we've got our Devastator torpedo bombers. I do like the Devastator. I know the crews didn't, and anybody else, but I do like the Devastator. We've got, and everybody loves a Dauntless. So we've got a couple of 3 Dauntlesses, 4 Dauntlesses. So we've got 6 Devastators, 4 Dauntlesses, 2 Wildcats, and there'll be another Wildcat coming up on the left. Let me just see if we can get it closer. Now what I've done, and I'm regretting it now. I thought, oh, now I've done that. Oh, by the way, I've painted them lighter, I know that, but they're 1 in 700 scale. Let's get this Dauntless up. I thought I'll lighten a couple of panels up on each aircraft. And they've got to have some I'm gonna they've had a satin varnish. I'm going to put the decals on. Sorry, no, I'm going to put the panel liner on, then the decals, and then I might just give them a wash of something just to try and tone those panels in because they look a bit silly. So we've got little decals going on there. These have got, at the time that she went down, there was always a big debate on what colour aircraft that were on the Lexington at the time, and everybody said, oh no, it was the later, you know, blue, more well known stuff. Well, it was actually like the very light bluey grey, with the striped tail, with the meatball, I believe it was the meatball identification stars, but they definitely had the red striped tail fins as well. So yeah, that's our Devastator. Now technically I reckon they've just pushed my built models up by how many of whatever I've built, because I had to stick the wheels on, I had to stick the propellers on, I've had to paint them, and I've had to decal them. Is that not a model build? I'm clutching at straws here, but what I'd say is one of the big downfalls of these are they've got really chunky sprue gates, and the propellers are obviously really thin, really bendy, and to try and remove the bit of sprue gate off them, you were just bending them to the point of snapping them, and I've just had to literally put the bit that's got the sprue gate on the down prop, if that makes sense, or the two props that point down. That was an absolute there was a lot of flash on them as well. They weren't very well done. I mean, I'm happy they've got a basic shape of a Dauntless and a Devastator and a Wildcat. That's good enough for me. I'm not fussed on that. I left the black primer and then put a silver over the top, and then I put a turquoise ink wash over the top of that, and then I'm going to give them when I do the panel lining, I'll give them a wash over as well, just darken the glass up very slightly. So yeah, that's it. But that's what the air wing will roughly look like on the back. I know I'm happy with the amount of planes I've got. You know, people might say, well, why is there, you know, 6 Devastators, 4 this and 2 of that? I don't care really. And once I don't care, I just mean, for me, that's what there's going to be you know, the 4 Devastators which were used for reconnaissance as well. They're going off over Guadalcanal Way, maybe somewhere to do a reconnaissance, or at least recce further out for the fleet. The Devastators are either going up for a training spin or whatever, and the Wildcats are still being brought up, and there would probably be 6 Wildcats, I'm saying in my head. You'll only ever see 2 on the deck and 1 coming up at the time. But yeah, I'm really chuffed, as we'd say in the UK, so pleased. There's loads of mistakes which we'll all go into at the end of the final reveal video, but now she's got paint on her, I'm a bit peeved with the amount of stuff that's pulled off the deck, and I'd say to find those other 2 bits is a bit annoying, but we'll get around it. So thank you very much for stopping by and taking a look at this. I know, as I say, the Lexington build, when I look at the odd time I look at my analyticals, it's hardly up there as my stellar pullings of people, but a lot of what I do, as I say, on the channel is just helps my head. You know, it's just me, so I'm not, you know, if people don't watch it, they don't watch it. I'm not going to get bent out of shape over it. But this build has been absolutely thoroughly enjoyable, and that's what it's all about. And I just, as I say, I'm annoyed with myself over glue marks and stuff. I'm annoyed with that
primer, but it's all stuff that if I can understand why the primer went like it did, if it's never meant to be put through an airbrush, fine, or if it was just too hot when I did it, whatever the reason, it would be interesting to know. But I'm learning bits as I go. As I say, I've got 4 1 in 700 ships. I've got the mighty Bismarck, which is, as you know, a full, that's got wooden deck and everything, and I don't want to do that until I'm a bit more proficient. So I've got Falklands era Type 21 frigate to do. That's got full issue. I bought all the bling for that as well. I've got a Type 42 Falklands era, Falklands being Falklands War in 1982, and I've got the USS Ward. I'll be probably doing the Ward next, I think. She's full issue as well. She's only tiny, and that all came with everything as you saw. So I thought I'll practice on her next. But yeah, really nice. Oh, I left the. You just about to see them here. I left the. They look out of scale, the plastic davits for these 2 ships' boats, but I can't remember if I bossed. I think, yeah, that's it. They had hanging like the little pulleys that the crew would lower the boats down, and the problem I had with those are that one had bust off and they were so flimsy they'd never fit in. They had these giant holes in the boats to obviously put these larger plastic pieces, and I just thought, I'll suck it up, Gav, and put the plastic pieces on, because they're never gonna sit right. Not that this one has really, but it didn't help that in my wanting to, there was bits of gaps, you know, where the deck fitted on, and in my haste I filled the holes in where where these boat davits actually sit, so they've just had to be just guessed at. But yeah, really enjoyable. As I say, she's for me, when you build a ship, you're building a piece of history. You know, I can see her in the Pacific. You know, I can see her going through the. I've got photographs of her going through the Panama Canal and that. You know, in that book I've got, and you know, real people were on these ships, and you know they gave everything for our today. So it's great to recreate ships. I just love ships. I like the 1 in 700 scale because I like small scale stuff anyway, as we all know, and I don't have a lot of room. You know, my wife says, where between the roadsters and the cars I'm building and this, where's it all going? I have no idea. They'll probably end up, you know, she'll probably end up in the bin after a while. I just won't have enough room, you know, and be on to the next one. But just to get a chance to recreate something like the Lexington is I just really enjoy it. And yeah, it takes me ages and ages to do them. Because I'll have a, you know, I want to work on the Lexington this week, and sometimes I get the chance to. Other times I'll say that, and everything blows up in your face, and you can't do it for whatever reason. But this has been one of those builds that I've just really enjoyed. For all the mistakes on her, for all the things that are wrong that I've done. You know, I've never worked really with photo etch brass in this scale. I mean, the 20mm shields on the Oerlikons were an absolute nightmare, but the plastic ones were so out of scale, a bit like the 30 cals on the top here. These water cooled, or 50 cals, aren't they? On the top. I think they're 50 cals, or are they 30? I can't remember. But the water cooled machine guns on the top, they're a fair bit out of scale, I suppose, but to do them in 1 in 700, maybe they might have been a bit too little. I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to do all the weathering. We're going to have to patch those last couple of patches up on the deck, and then I'm going to put some filters on and some oil washes over the deck, over the whole ship. We'll put a few rust streaks on. I don't want to go to town on that, but yeah, really enjoyable. But the one thing I have to do now is start looking around for some crew. I was going to get them from Starling Models here in the UK, and if I do, I'm going to have to get him in quick, because he says he's going to be shutting down for a month for his holidays. So, and then I don't think they're American crew. I think they're British. So I'd have to faff around with them. The other option is to get those, and I should have said they're like 3D printed resin, which would be better. I think the flat photo etch ones, I don't know, if it depends what angle you look at them, you know what I mean? If you're going to look at them, if they're at the wrong angle, they're going to look flat. so yeah, I don't know yet, we'll work that one out. Yeah, but we'll definitely have to be ordering some crew. I'll say I'm not going to make her absolutely heaving with people, but I do just want to liven it up. I want to put them around the guns and the boat decks and up here, you know, the bridge structure, anywhere. There's a couple of bits I've left out. There's a little hole there which I noticed, which I've obviously forgotten to put something on, and there's supposed to be the searchlights down here, and I moved the searchlights up one, as you do, by mistake. You can hardly see the holes there. You can see that one's quite noticeable there, so I'll have to, unless it's the hole for the ensign, I'm not sure. We'll work that out. We'll go back in the instructions and have a look. But yeah, really fun project this is, and it's given, you know, as I say, it's all about putting a smile on your face, and it does every time I work on it. Apart from when the when the deck wouldn't go down, and when that stuff came out like all over the model like candy floss, that wasn't a good time. And when after all my 1,000,001 little squares I put down all over the deck, it still pulled up bits of paint. That was annoying. But to be honest with you, the little, as I say, the little splodges where I've tried to key it in slightly, I don't really care so much, because it just looks like little splodges and warm bits of deck. So by the time I've put hopefully some oil washes over it, it's not going to look too bad, I don't think. So, right, I'm rambling. I know, it's what I do. I keep saying. So yeah, we've still got a bit to go on her yet, because there'll be bits of times when I'm, you know, although I'm going to try and push ahead with it, I can still see a month or two before she gets a final reveal. But you never know, it might come quicker. But absolute, I'm really glad I chose the model. It wasn't, as 1:700 scales go, it wasn't massively expensive. At the time I got her for 20 quid. I think you can still get them around for £22. And you get the different versions. This is the very last version. So as I keep saying, that she used to have four twin 8-inch gun turrets for her own defence, and they were removed and the anti-aircraft batteries were put in on a final refit, and the guns were used to defend Hawaii. I don't know where exactly. It was Oahu. I don't know obviously Hawaii very well, but they were used as you know, in case the Japanese got back. They were used for harbour defence or stuff like that. But yeah, you can get an earlier version, was what I'm trying to say, when she would have had a normal wooden teak. Is it teak deck? I'm not sure, but a wooden deck. Well, she's still got a wooden deck, but not painted. That is what I'm trying to say. And she wouldn't be blue. So, look after yourselves, guys. Thanks for listening to my waffle. I don't think I'm converting anybody really to 1:700 shipbuilding, but I hope you can understand the enjoyment of it. As I say, you can if you get something this scale, this is obviously an aircraft carrier, so it's a bit on the bigger scale. I mean, you'd still have to faff around with 20mm, tiny 20mm guns and stuff, but I mean, the Ward is going to be, and the Ardent or Antelope, because I can build either one of those for the Type 21, they're going to be interesting. But as destroyers and frigates and whatever, but yeah, you can just put them to one side, as long as you try and keep them dust free. I'll do my best with this one, it's not easy. Sorry, that was my wife telling me that everything's okay with Archie. Phew, that's great. Right, sorry, I digress. So yeah, they really are fantastic projects to work on. As I say, you can put it to one side. I know you can do that with all models. I'm just saying, I'll put it to one side. You know, if it takes me 6 months to do, which this one probably has, it's just enjoyable. As I say, I've learned a lot. Definitely, I'm going to have to look in. I think you can get PVA or something for the photo etch. I might look at that. Definitely some slower acting CA, so super glue. As I said, this one, Life Raft, the problem I have with the super glue I use is really great, but literally the minute it touches the photo etch, it grabs it solid. And I did try, and yes, I could have washed the whole plate thing with debonder, but I would have just caused so much. I'd have bent this out of shape and everything, so I've just had to leave it as she is. And as I say, that one ended up going over the ladder, which obviously would never have happened in real life, but there wasn't that much more room left. I think I would have ended up going over the ladder whatever happened, because I really ran out of room. There's a tiny gap between each one that I'd left, but not enough, I think, to get her, you know, where she wasn't covering the ladder at some way. Right, sorry I'm boring you. Oh, by the way, the dark blue, I put the dark blue on. This was the problem bit, as I said, I put all these railings on without even thinking of painting. And again, if I did a carrier or any other ship, I'll be working out a way of doing things painting wise a lot better than I have done. I know that Trumpeter, like they did with HMS Kent in a 350 scale, they like you to build in modules. And although I get that, the problem I had with Kent was, which still isn't finished, but when I put the module down onto the ship, there were huge gaps around the base and that, and it didn't look right. It just looked like it was floating in places. So I tried putting filler in, and of course I'd already got a load of PE and everything all over it, and I couldn't properly get it to be seamless. And I thought, oh, I'm not doing that again. So I went for building up on the ship, which does have its own problems again when painting. But I don't think you can see that I didn't end up painting all this blue, dark blue with dark. Yeah. Anyway, I think I pulled that off. I put enough masking tape in as far as I could either side, and then just hope that, you know, that was fairly. Again, I don't know if you can see, but you can't. It's dark under there, just about. But with so much shadow there, you can't see it. So I think I got away with that. Right, there we go. Again, I am sorry for waffling on. Look after yourselves, and we'll catch each other very soon on another video, which I believe will be 15mm Napoleonics. Finally got the 28mm World War II soldiers painted, so hopefully I'll get those and then the other Napoleonics on eBay hopefully this weekend or early next week. I think that's it. Yeah, so more work to come on this old girl. Actually really enjoying the 29 Roadster again, and I've got some more primer just to put on. The primer showed up a couple of bits that I needed to sand and reprime, so I'll just have to have a reprime on a couple of bits on the Roadster, and she's ready then for painting. Obviously none of it put together, they're all going to be put together, paint them separately and then put together. Well, that should be fun. But yeah, so that'll be coming up as well for the model builders out there. Hopefully sometime next week you'll get an update video on that, and then some other war game size figures to show as well. So look after yourselves again, and we'll catch each other very soon on another video.